Right, here we are, episode 5 of the CHC podcast. No better man than Stevie Cuddy. We'll try to get you in first episode, but again, with Junior, Slim and Uzi, so we've finally got you in. As usual, we'll kick off with your CHC debut. Now, before the debut starts, you mentioned to me you played for Oma. When was this?
Yes, I played for Oma as either I might have been 14, and your dad was coming out of the bank and phoned me to the house phone, obviously no mobiles, and said that he had some friend in Oma and they were playing in Belfast that night and they needed a couple of players. So me and Gareth went. Some boy lifted us outside Bradford's garage in a Mini. There's about 6 of us in the Mini. I had to sit in G's knee the whole way down. I think we won 2-1, and I think G got both from corners. He would have been only 17 probably. It was the first game they'd won all year. But that was my only ever game for another club in Ulster. That was before my debut for the club.
And who was the debut for?
My debut was for the Sixes.
And we only had 6 teams?
We had 6 teams, yes. It was funny because one of my friends asked why he was in the Sixes and Willard, he was chairman of selectors, and he goes, because we don't have a 7th. So Willard was very good at keeping us grounded. So I got picked for the 6. I was pretty cross because most of my mates, we had a good school team, but most of the mates had got picked for the 5s or the 4s.
Yeah, but that's the way it was then.
Yeah.
It's the norm now where you start and go 3s or
2s
or
no.
1s.
So
back then it was.
I can't remember where we were, but what I remember from that match was Billy Barber was driving us down in his Corsa, and the temperature gauge in the Corsa went to -17, and Billy tapped it about 50 times in the way. That couldn't be right, like that the whole way down. But I remember Billy played, and we had about 4 or 5 schoolboys and 4 or 5 of the older guys, and it honestly was like giving them £1 million starting off in the club. And I think you've probably got one of the shirts there.
You've brought a few things that has made this podcast very easy. So this one I absolutely love.
Yes, so this was the end of that. My first season was the last season in these tops. So
That's what we need to go back to. I would love that.
So that was the first season, but Leppy even back then was always looking out for the young ones. So I jumped from the 6s to the 3s. Leppy was captain of the 3s, and I remember me and Mark Simpson were playing for the under 15s on the North Pole. And Leppy landed and goes, boys, you aren't going with the 6s, you're coming with me to Mossley. Went to him with Mossley, or Sam was playing, Leppy was playing. We got a 2-2 draw. Leppy got a red card and had an altercation with a fan outside Mossley. And I think Davy Doonahan scored both goals at corners, and I was stopping corners in the old rock hard pitch at Mossley. And then I was pretty much, I played most of the season sort of, 4s or 5s, and then whenever Leppy needed young ones, he picked us. So it was a baptism of fire, but what a brilliant year.
And then at what point did you make the debut for the 1s?
Debut for the 1s was, I was 16, and it was the Harp Masters, which was the Annandale's tournament. And it was Gareth Graham was coach, and I remember scoring after about 25 minutes. Philly Barber crossed it in, and I just stand at the back post. I didn't score many goals away from the back post, and I hit my stick and went in. And so that was the debut for the first. But I would say it was under Fergie's reign that I sort of got in and played.
I always ask the question, whose position were you looking to take? Did you have somebody that you were thinking, right, I'll get in ahead of them?
Probably Pete Cunningham.
What?
Aye. So Pete was sort of I wouldn't say coming to the end, but Pete was, I suppose, a very, very good player, and but sort of coming to that stage, of business and all that. There was sort of blooming and things like that. He had other commitments, and I sort of thought so. Probably Pete's position was where I was trying to get, but to be honest, I just kept saying to myself, just if you get on, just try and not make mistakes, which I think sometimes maybe held me back a wee bit, because you're trying to, and then I think that's really the sort of player I ended up, was a player that was maybe a bit safe.
Whereas you say that, like, that's when I first went into it was under Jeff and stuff. I was the same, because we had such talented players. I was thinking, just stop the ball and give it the red shirt. That's all I wanted to do, and I did that. And then, as you say, I think that maybe didn't help me as much. It's quite skillful, but I never used it until actually you came on. Then I thought I was cemented my place in the team. I thought, all right, I'm all right, I'll try a bit more here. So I think that's actually right. It's sometimes tough just to do the safe thing, but it's always. But then you were in the team for how many years?
Yeah, well, I played then pretty much right through, but to be honest, at the end, I sort of hung on, because we went through, whenever I was playing in the team, or starting in the team, we were an average team. And I remember meetings actually in this room, and I would have been reasonably young, but I remember Gareth and Andy and stuff, a few of the older guys, Godfrey, sort of calling meetings in here, and pretty much it was almost player led, that guys, we're going to see out all our careers and we're going to do nothing. And then Jeff and Hexie come in and really just got us sorted out. And then we had the sort of golden generation that came through. We made probably the club's best signing in Ivanstein. And I know Hutchie had been injured. Hutchie got the up and got himself fit, and so we got him back in at centre back. That really made that team. And then on our sand based, we were very hard to beat. I think we went three full seasons winning every single game at home.
It was ridiculous.
And that was back in the old league, where you had your sort of top five of your Annandale, Garvey, Ban, ourselves and Inst. You had 5 really good teams.
But I've said before that Butler, I think, like, you go back, I think we conceded like could be single figure goals.
There was certainly one of the seasons that was single figure goals.
And I don't think, like, nowadays there's rotations on it. It was Swede, Butler, Blackie and Collie D. I don't think that moved all year for that just stayed and that was it. And why would you? Like, that defence was ridiculous.
Well, you had everything, because everybody wanted the ball in that defence. You had an aerial.
Collie D going forward quite a bit.
Absolutely. And so that was a quality team. So that made me, like, during those years, I never missed training. It was like trying to give them no excuses, that pretty much, like, that they couldn't really drop me, and then I started doing a bit of the coaching, and then I got the video analysis stuff going and things like that. So I was doing quite a lot even back then as a player, just to try and hang on to get, I suppose, a few playing winning medals. But listen, I was under no illusion that the writing was very much on the wall, but it was a team I wanted to stay involved with.
Like, you go back to whose position did you want to take? Like, you were my person. I was like, I think I could do that job. I want to take that position, because everyone else was the same age as me. Timmy was coming through, I was thinking, well, there's no way I'm getting anywhere near this. So I was like, and then G was still there. G had the flick and was still. So that initial starting phase for me was towards the end of your career. I probably played about 2 seasons with you, 3.
Probably.
I think I went in 07. Properly. I was in and out a lot.
Did you play club championships?
I played
at Pembroke that day that Collie and Amesy tore them apart.
Nah, or maybe I did. I was down.
I think you were there, and Cookie was there.
Oh, well then,
yeah. But that, I think Andy Barber talks about that. That was the day that it was Amesy and Collie D and all, and Timmy, and yourself, and you're sort of going, these guys are. Like, it was that second half of that season that I was sort of thinking to myself, we're going to be a really good team. Because I remember a couple of years before that, Gareth and I, we were living in Belfast, and we went to watch Garvey versus Annandale, and Annandale had won 4 leagues or 3 leagues on the trot, and Garvey were a very good side. And I remember watching that thinking, we are so far away from this. And then it was just a few players just coming through and Steno coming into the team, and then suddenly we were comfortably beating those teams, near the end. So you
said there about hanging on for medals and stuff. I have it actually written down I talk about quite a lot. Right, that naivety of, we'll win the next one, we'll get beaten in the Kirk Cup final, we'll win the next year, or we'll win the year. Only until recently where I was like, time's running out here. And see now with the 2s and the Junior Cup and stuff, I'm just like, right, come on. Like, I'm actually at a point now where I'm like, and I said to the young boys up training, like, take this seriously. If you get that final, it doesn't come around that often. Yeah,
you see, I think your group, really saw a lot of just the good times.
And
I think sometimes that can have an almost a negative effect, because, I think. I've been involved with, I think, 11 Kirk Cup finals, and I can truthfully say that the 11th was as important as the first, because I remember in 1998 we got a Kirk Cup final out of the blue. Fergie Gosgrove was the coach, and we got beat 1-0, I think, and we missed a couple of really good chances, but it honestly was like winning the World Cup, getting to a final. Because we had only saw the success in the Royal on the walls, the different photographs that are in here. And I remember looking at that Irish Senior Cup photograph, the guys all sitting in their football boots and all that. It was obviously in grass, and just sort of, it was dreaming that we would ever win something like that. I think the fact that we went through a lot of really bad seasons, like going away to Mosley, that we needed to stay up.
Like, I remember you boys telling this when we were winning stuff, and I just could not figure out what this team. Going to Mosley to try and stay up. So
that's why whenever you got the good end of it, you just wanted so much more of it.
But you're right. Like, once we won that first league title and first Kirk and stuff, it's not as if we were like, all right, we've won, we've settled. We pushed on something serious, like a training. I don't think I played a match harder than we ever trained. We trained Monday night. I used to hate it. You'd come away Monday night busted. You were playing against Swede, Cuddy, D. Like, it was so tough. And then come Saturday, it was quite easy compared to what you were training. That there, we're trying to get that into the boys up at the first now. Like, these will be the best players you probably play against all season. So do it properly.
Absolutely.
Don't just coast through training. We'll go back to your playing. A couple more shirts actually. This one. So what's this?
Yeah, well that was probably that was the 2006 Kirk Cup final against Garvey, and I hadn't got on in the game, and it was I think it was 1-1, and I remember literally begging Hexie and Jeff, please let me on. And so got on, and Collie D, Andy Barber got it, gave it to Collie D in the circle. I was literally standing in front of Williamson, and the ball just came, and I just literally did that, and it just went in the corner, and it was the winner. And that was like, I didn't even think I was going to get on, because the team was a really good team, but I did get on, and it happened to score the goal. So that was that shirt. That was a great day, because I had never really had a day like that where I'd scored a winner in an important game, and there was obviously big crowd. It was Boxing Day. It was against Garvey. It was at Garvey. So it was.
Is that the one? You and Butler?
Me and Ewan was captain.
That's good.
So yeah.
We'll switch it up. This one.
Yes. So that was that shirt had good memories and bad memories. So in the April in the April we went to Bangor
Yeah.
to try and win the league, and we were 2-1 down, and I got on, and Andy Barber put me through, and I remember going around the keeper and I still remember Blackie shouting, "Don't shoot!" And I was literally on the end line and just swung the stick at it, and it went in. And then about 2 minutes later, you got the ball in the circle and crossed it, and I just put the stick in. It went right into the roof, and so we won that game to win the league. But then a few weeks later, we played Pembroke in the final of the Irish Senior Cup. Something that I had dreamed of all my life. I looked at that photograph in the Royal, and just really went to that day. And I know, but prior to that, a lot of injuries. You remember Steno played with a broken knee and all that.
Gamesy, I think it's something
we
wrong.
had just, it was, we didn't, but I still was convinced that it was it could be our day.
Yeah.
And we played against Pembroke, who we had, I think, drawn with earlier on in the season at home in the Irish Hockey League, 1-1. And Steno actually missed a stroke. It was the only stroke Steno missed for the club.
Yep.
To beat them 2-1. But that was probably, like, whenever you look at that Pembroke side on paper, like, that was an unbelievable team.
They're brilliant.
And we got our asses completely handed to us. And I remember we were either 5-0 down or 6-0 down, and Jeff turned around to you and I, and we, like, he said, "Right, you boys can get on." And that annoyed me a bit, because it was almost, the game was gone.
Yeah.
And so I remember going onto the pitch with you and I, we were substituted at the exact same time when Dawn, I think I got a shot. I think I got one shot. I didn't touch the ball whole
I don't think I touched it.
Got beat 6-0, horrendous feeling.
Yeah.
And that was my last game. And then the next season, I was lucky enough to be installed in as co-coach with Hexham.
Yeah. A few pictures actually of your playing. So this Ulster 16s.
Ulster 16s.
I'll stick these up as well.
Stephen Watt was the coach.
Yeah.
That was my first cap for Ulster down in Cork. Stephen Watt has been a real mentor throughout my whole career, as a coach, coaching me and then working with him. I managed some of his Irish teams.
Yeah. You played 16s, Irish 16s?
No, I played Irish 15s. There used to be an Irish 15s, so I played Irish 15s with Hutchie. I then played Ulster 16s, Ulster 18s 2 years, and then Ulster under 21s 2 years. And then I've coached at all those levels as well.
Next one. I love this one. So,
Schools Cup final. Probably.
Now, where's that?
Blair's, old Blair's.
Yeah.
Favorite day playing on a hockey pitch. You can see some of the boys in that.
Is that?
So Aaron's here. That's Browner, myself. G had just scored, and Andy Barber. So we beat Inst 1-0. Inst were going for a treble or something like that. It was something ridiculous. They had a really good schools team.
And that's the medal.
Yeah, so that's
the Bernie Cup.
That's my So I was fortunate to win a couple of Bernies, but that was whenever I was 5th year. That along with Irish Senior are probably my two favourite medals.
A couple of the newspaper articles. Is this the Bangor one?
Aye.
So you said before we came on, I was your only man of the match before.
Only man of the match. So
then again, I don't know how many I've had, because anytime I played,
well, Greggy, I could guarantee even more than one.
But I remember it was the B Hall handshake, and I went to best every week,
no,
whether it was there or not.
It always annoyed me because goalkeepers get man of the match. It's far too easy.
Yeah.
But I was my only ever man of the match.
I always say to the boys, man of the match performance, it's a player who's not as good but exceed their performance that day.
Right.
Whereas say you're consistently good, you never get it.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Now this, what one was this?
Yeah, well that was one of our Kirks. I was the one that was 2-2 after full time. This was at Garvey. against Garvey, a really good Garvey team, and then we won 4-3. I think Collie D scored, Steno scored, Ori Gareth scored, and then Thomas Hutchison scored the drag, and at the end to win 4-3.
I was actually speaking to Greg Thompson the other day, and he was saying he must have been playing that one as well. He must have been with Garvey, but he was saying that was one of the games where there's 3-3, and then we got a penalty corner at the last minute, and he seen Thomas Hutchison stepping up, and he said he just knew that's a goal. That's because how the game had went. We just kept going. So that's a great one. That's the one of you and then the Kirk Cup.
Yeah.
So that's a great one. Is this you into coaching yet? No,
that was my last year playing. So that was I was in Bangor whenever we won the league.
So then we'll go into coaching. You started coaching a wee bit before Cookstown. This is very interesting. So explain this.
Well, this was whenever I was manager to Stephen Watt for the Irish 18s, and so I was brought in as manager and didn't do any coaching. And to be honest, I still don't think Stephen would let me coach any of his teams. So we had a brilliant management team. So you had Stephen, who was the gaffer, with John Hobbs from Cork, with myself, and with Mark Evans and Suzanne Evans. But this team,
the players on that's ridiculous.
Whenever you look at it, how many Olympians is on this shirt? You know, you have David Hart, you have Conor Hart, you have Mikey Watt, who went to the Olympics. You have guys like Mitch Darling, Jason Lynch was an international, Simon Todd was an international, Johnny Bruton was an international, Alan Sutherland went to the Olympics. So whenever you look at the team, Ian Walker was an international. So that team, and I do put a lot of that down to Stephen Watt, the amount of work that he put into this team, and the amount of technical work that went into this team.
But even you look at the Ulster 21 says with Swatty took it, and there was I think 7 Cookstown lads. Like a few of us obviously not from here, but a lot of the ones went on played international. Like again, Swatty was just so good, so technical. He was brilliant, and a lot of that actually it just shows with that team and any other team he's coached. If
you look at that team, it was the ethic, it was the work ethic and the technical ability that he installed into that team that really was the backbone of that Rio team. And then you don't forget he had Amesay and he had Sloaner as well through his hands. So you think how many players he had at Rio. It was pretty impressive. But I managed his teams, but to be honest, it was most of my coaching and the drills and things like that, you know, they're all stolen and reworked and repackaged.
Well, I'm the same now. Anytime I coach yours, so
that's, I think, so I always found, so I worked with Stephen Watt and worked with Paul Revington, and you know, those two guys, I learnt more from those two guys than I learnt from any coaching course or anything like that there. So that was a really, really good, and managing any of those teams, whenever you had Cookstown lads in the team, it always makes it that much more special. So
I actually think that 21's team, there were 7 of us all started one game. It was just I think the other 4 boys were Banbridge. It was brilliant. You then went into coaching. So this first win, first home game, and I think this was I can't remember. I think this was the Garvey game, and I think that was me celebrating the Sturdy Smith goal that he robbed Brian Waring and loved him.
So yeah, very, very lucky to get that position, and to do it with Hexay was class. And even before that, I suppose for the 2 or 3 or 4 years before that, I was doing a lot of the video work. I was travelling around the country, videoing other teams. I was doing a lot of the PowerPoint stuff and things like that. So, and then I was doing a lot of coaching then during while I was playing. So I think it was a pretty natural succession.
Yeah, even you say the PowerPoint and all that, you were massive for that. Like when you then came in and started coaching, that was so well done, so proper. it brought so much to it. Even Stephen McCartney then brought in later years. The video analysis was ridiculous. Like, I don't think there was any team that we were playing against that we didn't have video on. Short corners, how they ran, it just made life so much easier.
Yeah, well, you see, I think we got a bit of a step on other clubs.
Yeah.
And like, I remember the first season that we really got into it, and you were going away, and we'd watch corners throughout the week, and back then a lot of teams just ran the same corner defence and things like that, and we were able to pick short corner defence so easily, and like it was getting us so many points. And so I suppose I saw a real value in that, and then I suppose later on years we kept talking about that Kaizen or whatever, the Japanese philosophy about continuous improvement, and that, I suppose, that's where we always were. But it was the group that we had, so it was me, Hex, B Hall, Stevie McCartney, RG, and we had a good group, but then we had a really good changing room of Andy Barber, yourself, Godfrey, Swede, and it was a lot of. We were never stuck for a leader. No. So that was. I was very fortunate to be part of that.
Your first season then as a coach.
First season.
You did well now.
It was. We'd won the double the year before. So it was obviously difficult to come in, and if you weren't going to be successful, so we won the double that year as well. So that was 1-0 against Annandale. We needed to win.
I was down on a Wednesday night, or was that the one G roofed one?
Yeah, and then the other one was 2-0 away to Banbridge, or no, it was at Jordanstown against Banbridge. Amesy scored a reverse deflection. We always try to move it against Lennox. And then that's whenever Junior was hitting the scene, and I remember he went around Lennox and hit it inside more backboard on the reverse. So
I'll fast forward to one of our more memorable ones, the Senior Cup, the year we won it. We'll start off with the semi-final. We'll flick up a goal, hopefully. It's a verb, pretty much robbing Annandale top of the circle and then going. We were at the other end of the circle in about 3-4 seconds. Now that, we spoke before, you were saying like a two-touch mentality. That's what we were sort of going for all season, but that just was. Yeah,
well, it's probably my favourite goal.
Yeah.
I actually was speaking to Hexie about this earlier on today. So we were constantly on that horizontal, vertical running.
Yeah.
And we were already 2-0 up in this game, and then Andy Barber robs it. And this is whenever Junior was just hitting the scene at 17. He wins it, and you just see how fast, and that little reverse dump off. Cookie just gets it, just gives it. But you just watch this touch here into the space and then just across. But it's Sturdy's running, but you look at who else is, like there's Carruth, Davy Robb, Davy Smith, Neil Hamilton, Igro.
Yeah.
So we're talking about doing that against really good players. So that day, that whole weekend, I've said it before, we that Irish Senior Cup run, it was as if it was written in the stars.
Yeah.
And we went into that weekend, and we were easily fourth favourites going into that.
Yeah.
I thought we got a good draw because we'd beaten Annandale earlier on the season, and I think we were confident that we could do it again. We got a great start. We went 3-0 up. But the biggest thing about that weekend was watching the Ban Monkstown game, because Hexie and I, prior to that, we had thought we would press Monkstown because we thought we could get. They weren't that overly quick at the back, but we watched Ban press them on the Saturday, and Sykes just kept throwing aerials, and then you had Watkins up front, and they beat Ban really easily, and Ban never changed the way they played. They just pressed the whole time. And that really helped us. And I remember Hexie and I sitting down going, we're going to need to sit out here and just play on the break. And we just literally sat out and took their flick away. Like, I've watched that game back a few times, and there's hardly any aerials in the game. And then it was Junior's final.
But that, 100%. But that weekend, I was nervous about that Annandale game. See the hotel that Saturday night or whatever. that's the most comfortable I felt. See, going into the final, I felt, yeah, we've got this today.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever felt like that about any other final after that.
Yeah, well, Andy Barber did a speech in the hotel the night before, and Andy's always Andy never says anything that unless he's thought through it before. Yeah. And he said a few things that day about a few things that had happened previously that year, and I think it took a lot of pressure out of the situation. And then we couldn't have got off to a better start. So I think, did G get the first?
In the final?
In the final. Or did
no, I thought
Sloaner got the first.
Thought Sloaner with a flick.
And then I think, well, then G must have got the second. And then I still think you got the third.
No, they put me down in all the reports. Because I pulled it out, went in back post, but I got nowhere near it.
Yeah, when you watch it in the video,
it looks like it. It looks. And I should have handled it.
But it looks. So Sloaner got that one, and then I remember it being 4-2 up, and there was about 5-6 minutes left, and I was still saying to Haxie, surely they can't score 3. And then I remember the last 4 minutes. I did no coaching. I walked up.
Yeah, I remember you just walked.
And I sat down. And
I was on the bench and you just were.
And the last 4 minutes, I say I prayed for the last 4 minutes. And I just sat there and there was no coaching. And I just remember praying that we were going to get over the line.
Because I remember in the bench looking up and you were just kind of standing. I was thinking, he looks quite calm. You're obviously.
I was. And then at the end, and that night, in here, because I was looking back through photographs of mum drinking out of the cup and all that. Mum and dad only ever been to maybe 2 or 3 games their whole life, but they're in here drinking out of the Irish senior, But that was
the morning where I was working for Davy Lorimer at the time. He picked me up. I think he picked me up at 6 o'clock, and I got home at 5:30. I can't remember the rest of the day and work, but it was just.
And I remember Junior walking around with MVP in his head and Stevie Sloan singing in there, and it was just the best night. And I remember I stood on that chair most of the night because you couldn't move.
You couldn't.
And it was just, I think that took all the pressure off as a coach, because that was something that we all wanted. And then, but I think I spoke to you earlier. I think we were going to maybe look at a goal earlier or later on, but there was a lot of things happened in that game. It was nothing to do with coaching.
Yeah,
it was the players on the pitch. Jose Mourinho talks about the eggs, and if you got really good eggs, you'll make a better omelette and things like that. We were blessed with a really good team, but we had injuries. Remember, we had a few guys that missed the final that were really good, Blackie and Stevie Sloan, but it was funny, a couple of the guys that come in are still the backbone of the team now. So it was an unbelievable day, unbelievable night, and I look forward to the next one.
We then qualified for the EHL. We then went to the EHL. The group we got, Amsterdam and Reading, like as a club, I remember getting it being like lethal, amazing. I don't know if that's the right attitude.
No, listen, I was the same. Like the last thing we wanted was going to go and play the French or the Poles. Like, no offence to them, but we wanted a Dutch side, and we want, give us the English champions as well. And I remember that was the easiest pre-season ever. Our first night was the cycle, and there was literally boys coming up in BMX.
I'll stick the photo up on that. There's boys with baskets in the front of the bike, and then you look to the right of the photo, and there's you and Godfrey and everything, the full gear.
Yes, absolutely. But everybody was there, and we went in October. I'm actually wearing the jumper that we wore, and it's 10 years now. And I was looking back on the plans that we had. So we played over 20 games before we went in October. And I remember, Ban had qualified because we had won, and Ban hadn't won the club championships yet, and it was G's Stag. and we went to the EHL for G Stag, and I remember Andy Barber saying to Paddy Grimes, you know, Banbridge haven't won the Senior Cup since '88, and we haven't won it since Sunday. But then, as soon as Andy said that, well, then we knew that they were going to win the club championships, and then they went as Ireland 1 and we went as Ireland 2. But it was great because obviously there was a lot of rivalry between the clubs, but it was good that we were both there. But whenever I got the groups, I was like, this is class. And I remember like the amount of work we did on Amsterdam and Reading, and you know the way you're trying to look for a weakness and all that there, and you were looking, and it was almost at times you were just going, I'm going to close that laptop down. I don't want to watch it anymore.
I still talk to the boys about it. I pissed myself every time. I remember sitting beside Timmy and you were giving the team talk and you were doing your usual, you had it all out, clips of them playing, a few clips, Timmy's nudged me and then you're like, okay, right back to them, such he's good, centre back, he's a decent player, so watch him. You got to their left mid, you just went, boys, they're all very good players here.
Well, I remember our first game against Reading. We actually did well. We were 2-0 at half time, but I remember we did a lot of work on corner defence before we went, because we knew we had Mantell to face and Takama. And I remember saying in the team talk, guys, I could have watched 100 corners of Reading's, and Mantell only flicks low.
That's right.
And his first corner went in,
ripped it.
I still haven't. And
no.
I just giggled to myself. I was going, so much for him going low, because our boys were all
low,
and it just went in past. So I remember that, and then like we played well. We got beaten, but we certainly didn't. But the Amsterdam game, whenever you look at that team, that was effectively a Dutch national team.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, we were a wee town, 10,000 people, and we went and we effectively played a Amsterdam team that had probably 8 or 9 full internationals, and guys that went on to win multiple medals at major games. So they were world class, and like that game was just, I know we got absolutely thumped, but actually at 4-0 whenever we scored, we had about 6 or 7 minutes where we were every bit as good, and they were on the back foot a bit, and obviously then Godfrey got hit, and then the sort of the wheels. But that goal, I think,
you have it here, sticker up there.
So this was probably, we might have to stop.
Like you sent me this today.
Yes.
This
you can play it.
I'll play it. But you actually see, I can believe it, when G scored and the camera goes to the crowd. There's so many people there. Like, I don't think anyone from Cookstown Hot Club didn't travel. Like, there was everybody.
Well, I think, because I booked the rooms, and I remember phoning Stephen Butler, who was living in Antwerp, and saying, we've got a EHL. It was perfect. It was at Dragons, which was class ground, and with Amsterdam and Reading. And then I said, listen, where could we stay? And then we got the Radisson in the middle of Antwerp. And I remember phoning them, and I think there was 101 supporters went, something like that. Right. And then we had 22. We had a 22-man travelling party, and it was just, you remember the bar we took over?
It was just mayhem.
And Ryan Turkendon and Henry Stewart going on the bike. They stole a bike, had no rim on it, and they fell off it, and just that whole. I remember
B Hall. We thought we were going to have to leave.
At one point, like, I remember going into B's.
We're in the bus waiting, like,
Brian, you really need to come home. Like, come on. And we finally got B in, and he was a sick boy.
Oh, he wasn't well.
But what a trip.
I actually remember B lying in the airport, and he was just lying at the side, and us boys threw spare change. And there's a few people.
Oh my goodness. But just an unbelievable trip. And I sometimes describe our club as we're a family club, but we can be a dysfunctional family.
Oh yeah.
But that trip, everybody just very much came together, and
like, that's probably the proudest I've felt to play for the club. Put on a red shirt. Like, the results didn't matter.
No,
did not matter.
No,
like, that has to be up there with your proudest moment as a coach.
Yeah, well, without a doubt. You know, if you get an opportunity to coach in the EHL, like you know, you're coaching against the best. To do it with your home club is unbelievable, and because Noah had just been born, and like all my family were there, everybody's family was there, and you could just see at the end, you know, that photograph that we have of everybody, and you see like wee Ed, and now Ed's a big guy and going to be a class player, and you see, you know, Noah was in Jude's arms, and a lot of those kids that were there are all now playing, and so no, just a class weekend.
Brilliant. We'll switch it up. I said that's probably one of the best ones. I put it on Instagram earlier and stuff. A few questions. One's were asking one of the worst moments then as a coach, and actually we'll answer this first. Actually, one of the worst moments.
Easy, the relegation from the EY Hockey League.
Was that the first one at Ban?
I was at Ban against UCD. We had started off first half of the season 3 points with 1 win. I think we'd lost 6 games by the odd goal. I actually think we were playing all right.
We were missing so many. Like, I missed a stroke, I remember, to win us a game. Like, there's just wee margins.
Just everything that could go wrong went wrong. Second half of the season went in an unbelievable run. With 13 points in the second half, finished with 16 points. Whenever you look back at that league, 16 points would have kept you in it every time. It would have finished mid-table in some of the seasons. So 13 points, we beat a lot of really good teams. We beat, I think, 3 Rock went to the EHL that year. We beat them. I think pretty much most years that I coached, we always, for some reason, we always beat the team that was at the EHL that October. We always beat them a few weeks after. But that was just an awful day, and you probably remember the team talk. That I couldn't even finish the team talk because I was very emotional about the whole thing for some reason. I don't know why. I just really felt the pressure. To be honest, I didn't do any coaching that day. Haxie done it all, and we did not turn up.
No, as a team we weren't great. Like, I think a lot of us just froze. Yeah,
we had a pile of greens with 2 or 3 yellows, and I think we had a red at the end as well.
Yeah, we weren't good now.
Just so that, without a doubt, the worst day, and that wasn't that long, that many seasons after we had all of this success, and I suppose that's whenever, you know, a lot of people were, that Haxie and Steve will have to step down and all that, and I'd felt that we'd still coached every bit as well as we'd coached other years, but just some seasons you're not, everything's not going to go perfect for you, and that, I suppose, that really annoyed me as a coach, because I suppose as a family club I always sort of think that support should be unconditional, but you know that's never going to be the way. But I remember that really affected me. I remember I hardly left the house for 2 or 3 days after it, and I was really at that point it was almost that's I can't do anymore, you know. So
but then you stayed on another 2 seasons.
I was stayed on, got promotion you know, the next season, and I actually I read that team talk whenever sort of you'd said this. I read that team talk, and I remember reading it that day. That was about the 19 Cookstown men,
one
Coleraine man and a German. That's all we need. And I remember that day reading through that, and I was quite emotional that day about it as well, but thinking how important it was. And it was all about not giving up, and what we needed that day. And I very rarely wrote every word out, but that day I did, because I knew the previous experience. I hardly could finish.
Yeah.
So I got to the end of that, and I remember we had a horrible start.
Oh my goodness.
And then we got back, and then I remember that it was just relief. It was like taking off the top of a bottle. It was just, all the pressure was off then as soon as we were back in the EY. And I remember me and Haxie sat over in the dugout at three rock.
Yeah.
I'd say we sat for an hour just in the dugout. It was just relief that we got back up. And then in the back of my head, that was me. But then spoke to Haxie and things like that, and then it was pretty much, I wanted to coach a season and that the team stayed in the league. So that was the next season we stayed in the league. Because a lot of the good guys, by that time, Timmy and
they'd all moved
Cuddy, we'd lost 4 or 5 internationals. It was still a very, very good team, but it was stay up, be competitive in the EY Hockey League, which we were, and then that was me.
So why was that you?
I just, there was a few things that happened during the year that, and then to be honest, Greggy, it was taking over everything. Yeah. So you were preparing for a Monday night, preparing for a Thursday night. You were playing on a Saturday. If you won on a Saturday, you couldn't wait to get home to get the laptop open to rewatch the game. But if you got beaten a Saturday, you were getting home to open the laptop and rewatch it again to see where you went wrong, or where we went wrong, and what we needed to do in the Monday night. So, like, every game we played, I probably watched at least one other time. And whenever we got beat, it was just so up and down. So your emotions were all over the place.
Those 3 years, they took a toll on me. I struggled playing for those 3 years.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, I'm actually not enjoying this.
Yeah.
That's where it got to the point of, but then I thought, stay in it. Again, that last season where we played, your last season, I'd said to Becca a good few times, like, no, I'm stopping here. Stopping. But then I was like, no, I'll stay, try and keep the club going, keep it up.
No, that's where I was, but it took a toll. There was, you always, had some issues. Sometimes you were dealing with parents and stuff like that there, and I'm a parent now, so you want the best for your children, but that was hard, and everybody sort of expected. We won the Irish Senior Cup in 2011. But it's not. Sport's not like that. So it was just taking too much out of me.
You went back to playing a bit. Played threes. Playing with G quite a bit.
Playing is probably a stretch. It's one of those things. I love playing, but I now just, unless you're sort of physically capable of doing it and your mind's there and you can make clever enough runs and things like that, but then when the ball's hit at you, you just don't stop them. Like, you're sort of going, like, what has happened here? But certainly some great, and I do intend to play a wee bit this season, and I know AB's playing a bit, and G's going to play a bit, and so a lot of those sort of ones that I did play with are still playing Leppy and all that, so just to get games with them. But I suppose I miss the social aspect of it, because I think that's, whenever I was coaching the ones, that's why I wanted to stay on, because the crack in the mobile before and after, and you guys were completely different to the boys I played with, and just great crack. And you think of some of the stuff that was going on before and after, and Timmy sending his dad a referral whenever we were playing at Kilkeel, and just some of the stupid things that went on.
Because I remember, I still laugh, me and Godfrey still joke about it. There's one of the games where we were just walking ones and twos across the pitch against Monkstown, and they were warming up, and we didn't even have balls out yet, and we just sat and watched them. They were wrecking. We were, that's sharp. I think we drew with them 1-1 or something, but they looked out at us from just watching their warm up.
Yes.
So bad. Yeah. Another question came through just when you were talking about it. What did you enjoy more, winning as a player or winning as a coach? probably a relief as a coach, but
yeah, I think it usually is a relief as a coach, but I probably as a player, I think the schools cup final,
like other ones you have here.
Yeah, of the Irish senior there, and first league and first Kirk, first Kirk in 2002. That was the one. Andy Barber took it off Paddy Brown
halfway
and absolutely roasted
Just
Paddy,
gone.
and then so that was the first. Was the first bit of silverware, but then we didn't win again until 2006, another Kirk, and then we started our leagues. So those. I think playing probably is more enjoyable because you're actually in the arena.
Yeah.
Coaching is obviously it's class, but I think winning playing is always. That's why I always say to boys like you and everything, seriously play as long as you can. I stopped playing for the first of 29.
Yeah.
I stopped playing because I couldn't play anymore because I wasn't good enough. But that I think
because that's. When I was actually thinking of stopping stuff, I spoke to you. You were the only one I wanted to speak to, and then I was asking you like, what should I do here? Play at the highest level for as long as I can, or go down and enjoy it? But like, I have no regrets.
Yeah. See,
playing twos with Stevie and Les, like that's massive for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like on a Sunday, going around chatting about the game and stuff like that. Like, I miss the ones a lot, big time. I still play every now and again for them, and I love it. But that playing for the twos with family.
Yeah,
like as a family club, I love that.
Yeah.
But you talk about family clubs and CHC future and stuff. Like the crop of players coming through now, like you and Cookie and all with the junior ones. You've seen that already filtering into the junior training of the 4s, 3s, 2s. Like I haven't seen the amount of players up at junior training in years.
Yeah, well, I think that's. I was up at training a couple of Wednesday nights ago, and. I left and I left delighted because we had so many. I think we have 8 or 9 new schoolboys into the club, and they're all good lads and they're all wanting to play. And this weekend we've 4 teams away, and we've 1 team in Rafo, 1 team in Service, so they're all over the country. But I was speaking to young Ewan Anderson tonight, who's away with the 3s, and you could see the smile on his face. He's away to a fool, like, and he's can't wait. And you've Luke Haycock and a lot of those young guys that are just starting off. And I'm sure you're the same. But what I would do to be 15 again, starting off,
even up at train, seeing them, I'm just like, that's brilliant. And then you see him on a Saturday playing and. Like last week I was watching Tommy Hutchin just slinging balls to some 15-year-old.
Yeah, well, because I was speaking to Luke Haycock about that, and I said, I heard Tommy Hutch passed you a few. He goes, he must have passed me 50 balls. But how does he do that to Sky's hit? Because Thomas can do it the other way. And I said, there's not too many boys can do it like Thomas.
Because even watching, he set up to slap it, and I was still going the other way.
Yes, I guess. Because I think Luke was going, because Thomas had said, just you be ready. Like that. So with things like that, I just, you get your phone calls, I'm sure you're the same, the different phone calls on a Saturday night, phoning around the different teams, how'd you do, and you get your Wilsey phone call from the 2s, and he's giving off about a few things, and never has enough players and all that, but they always win. You guys always win, and then you speak to Lepe about the 4s and all that, and speaking to Ryan about the 3s, and it's great to hear.
Because even now, like Les put in the team there for the 2s this week, and he's like, we're only allowed to bring 13. I was just laughing. I was like, there's times the 2s wouldn't have even got 13. I was like, you're only allowed to bring 13 because the players going down.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. But there's a picture in here I love. The opening of the water base. Now you were massive for this. The work you put in, that's great to have. Like our facilities here.
Yeah, listen, we're really fortunate. That's you talk about playing or coaching, or that's probably my proudest achievement of helping to get the pitch. Now it was obviously there's an awful lot of more people than me, but Gareth especially. Yeah. But like I remember being in the meeting with Sport Northern Ireland whenever they told us how much money we were getting. And I remember like sort of sitting there trying to play it cool and like inside like wanting to do somersaults, and it came out and I phoned Alan Ferguson straight away, who Alan would be a hero of mine, and telling Alan, and I could hear him, I think he actually pulled the car over, like I was say that again, Stephen. And then I remember just getting everything sorted. I remember being in America on holidays and getting colour samples sent to my hotel to pick it, and a pile of things. I remember being somewhere else with Jude and just on the phone all the time, and her going nuts about it. But whenever the turf arrived, I remember Amesy just lived up there while it was being put down, and then the first games on it and all that, and then the opening against Ireland. And that team that Reds brought was class. Getting to play that night, captained the team and all that, and a lot of the guys that played in the previous opening, Philly Barber, Pete Cunningham, B Hall and all had played. So that night was just class, because I knew we needed a water. That's what we needed. For the kids. We were class on the sand based, and it took us a couple of years before we got used to it, and but now we've 2 class pitches, we've a class clubhouse, and the kids, they've all the facilities, all they need. All they need.
We'll finish off with 2 questions. One from Dan Crooks: player you most enjoyed coaching over the years?
That's a difficult one. Who I most enjoyed coaching? As I say, I was really fortunate with the people that I was able to be on the pitch with, coaching. If I had to pick one, it was more not coaching, it was more in a watching capacity. So I think probably that year, Sloaner being in upper 6th. Now, we had yourself, Amesy, Timmy, a lot of those young guys, Collie D and all that, absolutely class. But that year, I think we've got a goal here
this is ridiculous.
So whenever you look at this, this is semi-final of the Kirk Cup at Banbridge, and so you see here, Timmy's got the ball and gives it to Junior. Like Junior's 17 here, and whenever you look in the screen, you have Arbuthnot here, 13, who's class player. You have Raphael, who's probably one of the most skillful players Ireland's ever had. You have Michael Hart, and then he just takes off here and just starts. The guy's Timmy Cockram coming into the picture, another international. Brian Waring, another international. Johnny Bell, an Olympian behind. And this is Junior just taking on Garvey, and look at that, just in, and just like you were there. So that year, like I remember you remember the Cork away.
That's what I was going to
team talk.
It's so funny.
And
you spent 30 minutes of how these boys are so dangerous. They're so good. Yes. They're so good.
And that trip down, like the trips to Cork were always class anyway. The long trip and the amount of rubbish that was taken. But Hexie and I, literally, from we got outside Dublin, we started talking about what we needed to talk about the next day, and it was all about just keep everything nice and low and just concentration, and just we need to be just really disciplined and all that. So we took off, gave our team talk. I thought we always stayed at the airport, always got class hotels, we always had big massive rooms.
Remember the rooms sitting in it?
And thought, right, we've done a good job. And then stupidly said, has anybody anything to say? And Ian just guys. And he just took off and just, guys, if we start right, we're going to absolutely smash these boys, and we'll do this and we'll do that, and they're slow and they're rubbish, and we're class and we'll do it. And
I remember you had targeted somebody, you're like, this left back, very dangerous, chucking good aerial. That's one of the worst players I've ever seen.
I was just, oh my goodness. And I was going, all right, good man, Ian. And I think Ian had a hat trick after about 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, he just dominated.
We won 5-0, and like you never win 5-0 in Cork. And I remember
so comfortable, just
me, G, and Hexie and B Hall in the car on the way home. And we would still say, do you mind? We'll just smash these boys. But that year, Ian went from, like, you think of what he did in that year, like he won everything. And he went to any of the schools finals he just won them.
Yeah.
He won us an Irish Senior Cup final. He just was unplayable. Like, you know, you remember the night we went away to Annandale to win the league. And I think to set up winning the league against North Down on the Saturday, and we went, and I think we won 7-2 or something like that. That's right. And I remember speaking to Davy Smith after that, and Davy said, you know, Davy's obviously played against the Worlds, and he said that night, you know, Junior was as close to unplayable. So that's, I wouldn't say I coached him, because that was all Ian. But that was very enjoyable to watch. Yeah. That was very enjoyable to watch.
We'll finish up. Funny moments. Do you have any in mind?
Funny moments. We had a lot of funny moments with B Hall. Created a lot of funny moments, and one of the funny moments I have is Collie D wasn't long into the team, and we didn't. Let's just say we didn't have the greatest medical kits in the world. The Billy Barnes sponsorship was gone by that stage, and I remember Collie Donaldson getting hit, and I'd sit down there, Colin, and wrapping everything up and getting this real good tight bandage on, and about 5 minutes later Andy Barber got injured and so off, and like we all know you don't tell Andy Barber we don't have bandage. So I remember B going up and going, hey Colin, I'm going to need that bandage back. I took the bandage off, and Collie was like, all right then, took the bandage off, went over and bandaged up. So that was funny. I remember playing against I think it was Garvey and Noel Wilson were playing on the sand, and the ball going out over the sideline, the ball went over to the tap. And you know the way Noel ran over and got it, and he sort of rolled it. But he was nowhere near his goals, like, and I can't remember who was playing centre back. Would he decide to take a quick free, like, and they literally just intercepted and walked in, just bait it into the empty goal. As Noel was over at the tap, so and Godfrey hitting the horse at Annandale was a funny one. Whenever we
remember this,
we were playing away. I don't know if he actually hit it, but we were leading and there was a few minutes left, and I was shouting, relieve the pressure, go to the air. And Godfrey just chucked this aerial, but it just hooked it, and it went into the field, and the horse had a move. So I remember that there, but just like even just some of the junior team stuff, I played a bit with your dad as well and stuff like that, and just some of the stories that you were told that you wouldn't believe, like Gareth coming home as a 16-year-old. I would have been 14, and Gareth drove home from Garvey. I'm not going to say whose car he drove home, but they used to train in Garvey and went in, took a few pints, and then so Gareth got handed, and Gareth thought this was the greatest thing. Like, but can you imagine if that happened now?
That's what we were saying.
You know, you imagine throwing some of those boys at Raffo when they're 16. You're going, you're going to drive home. So some of those things, you know, and I would love all those stories to be brought together in some sort of book, because in 10 or 20 years, people will think they're fiction. They'll not actually believe them.
I was doing the Barnes our night on here, and I was speaking to Les and Tom Tide, and they were sitting just chatting away, and I was like, I need these boys on to get these stories, because some of them are brilliant. So it's brilliant memories over the years with them, so hopefully get them on, get chatting, keep it going.
Good.
So that'll do us there. So thank you very much, and hope you enjoyed that one.
Good man.
Cheers.
Thanks, Greggy.